So, making a video to show how I make the loop stitch. It's the stitch that I use in my Pufferfish pattern, but of course you're welcome to use it for any project that you like. Anyway, I've made the first 2 rounds of the Pufferfish. They're just regular crocheting in the round in a spiral with single crochet. And I'm about to start row 3, which is the first round that uses the loop stitch. I've already just tied the end of my secondary color yarn to the back here, so the first loop won't just pull through. So, the loop stitch, basically what you do is you just pull the yarn forward, make a single crochet, and then pull the yarn back and single crochet. So you're sort of going back and forth every other stitch. But you're also putting a little bit of slack in the yarn so it leaves a loop. The tricky part is making sure that the yarn is sort of fastened in the back, because otherwise if you pull on one loop you can just sort of yank it and it'll take up all the slack in the surrounding loops, and you'll end up with basically one long piece of string on one side and no loops anywhere else in the body. But anyway, so round 3, I'm starting in the loop stitch. So I'll pull my yarn forward, make 1 single crochet, and to make the loops a uniform size, I find it's useful to have something to hold them in place. I'm using a US size 11 double-pointed knitting needle. In the tutorial I use a popsicle stick. You can use really whatever you have on hand as long as it's a consistent size. Obviously a larger item will give you larger loops, and a smaller item, smaller loops. So I just wrap the yarn around, and that just holds the loop out at a certain size. And then I'm going to make my next single crochet in the next space in the row, which will be right here. But I need to lock this yarn, my secondary color yarn, into place so this loop will stay the same size. So I will put the hook in like I would normally do in the next spot to start my single crochet. I will pull the loop forward. I'll hold this tight so this wraps around. The first stitch is a little tricky because it's just going to want to pull. But if you can see at the back, it's just wrapped around. And then I will finish my single crochet. Then I will do the next stitch. I will pull it forward. Make my next single crochet. Wrap the yarn around. Pull it to the back. Start my next single crochet. Pull the yarn around to lock it, and finish my single crochet. And you'll continue around for all of round 3, just repeating this. And since it's alternating, going back and forth between the stitches, you should have the number of stitches in each round be half the number of total stitches, or total single crochet stitches in the round. So, for example, this round has 12 single crochet, so you should wind up with 6 loops. And It's going to be kind of tricky to have your loops consistent if you put all of them in the round on the whatever you're using to hold this shape. So I usually just pull it out after a couple of loops and start over. Oops, I forgot to do my lock. As I've said before, you should be able to look at the back of the fabric and see that there's basically these 2 bars. And that means you've wrapped your yarn. If you don't see the 2 bars, it probably means that your stitches are not going to be secure. And I'll do one round where I don't do the wraps and show you why that's a problem. I just pulled my stitch out of place. Let me do that again. Okay, so there's their end of round 3. I have my 6 loops. For marking where my rounds are, I usually just use a piece of yarn. You can actually have a real stitch counter on hand if you like. I just find yarn is easy because I don't have to go look for any special equipment. So round 4 is just worked regularly. It's just increases all the way around. Alright, so I'm at the end of round 4. So I'll start in on round 5, which again is going to be in the loop stitch again. So I will pull my yarn forward, and I'll do a few stitches without the wrap just to show you what that looks like. Let's see, where did my spacer show up? There we go. So you'd still pull your yarn back. Now I'm just going to make this single crochet the regular way, no wrap, and then I'll pull my yarn forward, make my next single crochet. You can see I'm pulling my yarn tight pretty much after each loop, just to make sure that the loops are staying the same size. It's good to just keep adjusting, because otherwise you'll end up with sort of uneven loops. Okay, that's that's a good number of loops to just demonstrate. So on the surface, with working without the wraps, your loops will initially look just the same as they did without or they'll look basically the same without the wraps versus with the wraps. If you look on the back, you'll see that you just have this single bar without the wraps, where you had the double bar with the wraps. And the reason that this is a problem is if I just happen to catch one of these and yank on it, it'll take up all the slack of the surrounding stitches. And that's really not the effect that you were going for. So I'm going to just tear back to the beginning of the round and do a couple more loops the way that I would say you should, just so you get the desired effect. So I make my one single crochet with the yarn in front. I wrap it around. I make my next single crochet in the next space. I start it, pull this tight, wrap it around, and finish my single crochet. Pull my yarn forward, make one single crochet, wrap my yarn around, start, pull the yarn tight, and wrap it around, finish. So there you go. Obviously, if you're making the full pufferfish, you'll continue around and make lots and lots of these loops. And you can always go back and check your work, look at the back side of the thing, make sure you're getting the 2 bars. Hopefully this helps. Thank you.